Welcome to Journey Through the Innerverse. Hi,
Welcome.
Alexis.
Hello.
I love how I always say hi to you like we haven't been talking for like 10 minutes plus
I
before
appreciate
hitting
it
go live.
nonetheless.
But I'm like,
How are
okay, you're the person
you?
I see. So I'm just gonna like formally say hello.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah. So I'm really excited about the chat tonight. We will be discussing dreams and the zodiac. And we're actually going to focus specifically on moon signs. And I was really inspired to have this conversation with Alexis and, all of you watching live and listening to the replay. I was inspired to have this conversation because I'm going to be teaching a class this weekend about weaving astrology with dreams and talking about dream planets, the houses that correspond to dreams, as well as like how to utilize the transits in your dream work practice. And it's just like a beautiful way to integrate like the cosmic energies, the heavens, like with your like personal life, right? It's such a personal um like connection that you can establish with the cosmos. And through my experience, I really felt the as above, so below connection when, even just simply paying attention to the moon cycle with my dreams, or when the moon would align with my natal moon. And I really started to get a really nice perspective on my own astrology, specifically my moon sign, my Pluto placement, and how that is reflected in my chart. And also, like, how the planets can communicate with me personally. And I was just blown away. And I actually wasn't expecting the moon to be so prominent. I mean, of course, we all have connection with the moons, or a lot of us do. I know if you're listening to this podcast, you definitely have a connection with the moon. Like, we see it all the time. But I honestly, I was like, oh, I was expecting maybe like Venus or another planetary energy to connect with me in dreams, but it definitely was the moon. And that was really profound. And I've shared that experience many times. And so I wanted to really, kind of dig a little bit deeper in reference to all the zodiac signs, and specifically the moon signs, and how that can be reflected in the dream space.
Absolutely. And just to go off of that, like I've been since we started talking about the idea of doing this episode, I I have an Aquarius moon and we are in Aquarius season right now. And I've noticed that my dream note taking has increased significantly.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes me think about how um in the sign right now, we're in the sign of Aquarius, so my Aquarius moon is being highlighted. And again, I never really thought about that equating to my dreams as much, but it makes total sense, knowing going from not paying attention to paying attention within the same um sign, so period of time, and seeing the consistency. So like I started this part of Aquarius not paying attention, and then like halfway through started paying attention, and I just can see the consistency. It's
Yeah.
definitely when your moon sign is highlighted, when the moon is in direct with your natal moon,
Mm-hmm.
or
Yeah, you
as
can
it
say conjunct, align.
conjunct,
I tend to
yeah,
try to use like non what astrological jargon, just so people can understand. But yeah, conjunct,
yeah.
align. Yeah.
So now I'm noticing when the moon is conjunct with my natal moon, I'm much more active
Mhm.
in at least writing them down, like remembering them fully and writing them down, even if a couple days have passed.
Yeah, and it's interesting how you mentioned that kind of in the beginning of Aquarius season, you were still kind of like getting in the vibe of, your routine and consistency with writing your dreams, recording your dreams. And I think for you, honestly, like it synced up right around the Aquarius new moon, which makes sense
Yes.
because it's like, yeah, we're in the solar season of Aquarius,
Hmm.
as of January 19th this year. However, like that lunar cycle of Aquarius didn't happen until last week. And
Yes.
so I've definitely been paying more attention to the moon in reference to the dreams, especially the moon cycle with the 28-day cycle, and having a dream practice around that as well seemed, really it seems just more like intimate and directly connected. So that completely makes sense that the way that your, consistency and everything and your connection to your dreams and the moon, like all of that kind of synced up nicely with the Aquarius cycle, lunar cycle.
Exactly. It's the solar influence and the lunar influence, and when it hit both at the same time, that really was like an explosion of experience and inspiration.
Yeah. Awesome. So I am happy to see there are some folks already here in the chat, and we pinned a message here just saying hello to everyone. And if you know your moon sign and you want to share, we would love to know what your moon sign is. And also, do you have any common dream themes that, show up in your dream space regularly? And we'll definitely kind of see if that is connected to your moon sign. So I think that's kind of like an exciting just point of observation that you can kind of take in with our conversation tonight. And actually, this is part one. So tonight we're going to do our best to get through all like the first half of the zodiac. Hopefully we can do that. If not, we'll break it up into more parts. But our goal is to focus on Aries through Virgo, right? And so we're going to focus on the pure archetype of these signs. So we're not going to take into any consideration of like, what's your sun, what's your rising,
Mhm.
although I'm sure that will probably just naturally come into play.
Oh, it
But
will.
like purely what these signs represent, we're going to kind of just evaluate how they will, like how their approaches to the dream space and the benefits and challenges per se with these signs in reference to their dreams. And I'm going to also point to emotions as well here in a bit too, because that is like a major factor in reference to our dreams and how we like observe our dreams, how we interpret our dreams, as well as like even the moon corresponding to like emotion. So that's a really big factor in reference to dreams and our moon signs and also how we move through the world. But before we get into all that, I just want to briefly first let's Alexis, I want to ask you, and those of you watching, and I just want to say hello to everyone in the chat. Mary's here. Hey, Mary. Courtney's
Hey, Mary.
here.
Hey,
Hello.
Courtney.
Richard of Carver. That's a new name. Welcome
That is
in.
the new name. Welcome in.
Yeah. And we also have Christopher and Jen. So welcome in, everyone.
Welcome in,
And
guys. Thanks for
everyone's
being
sharing their
here.
moon signs in the chat. So I'll
Ooh.
I'll I'll revisit that here in a second. But Alexis, how has your dream space been since our last episode? Because our last episode actually was the day of the new moon. So it's been a week since we started this new moon cycle or Aquarius lunar cycle. And yeah, so how has it been?
So it has been pretty incredible. I have been documenting my dreams like all of a sudden since last week, almost every single day. And they've been sticking really intensely. Like I'm kind of like replaying in my head. I've kind of felt more of that, the lack of disconnect. Like I'm not really awake. I'm not really asleep throughout the day. Like there's just kind of like this in between spaces feel. Um, and the dreams have been like very clear. The messages are interesting, and there's actually a lot. I've had a lot of dream work in like dream work dreams, and the one I'm going to share is very brief, but it'll give you an example of like what I mean by that. So last night I had a dream. It was very brief. So another being had half of a scroll. It was an ancient scroll of dreams, and they had half of it. and I had the other half. I had the bottom half. I was staring at it in my hands, and it was torn kind of like down the center at an angle. And this other being moved into my dream realm to connect his half of, or their half, because there wasn't really a gender, it was just something else, to connect or like fuse his part of the ancient dream scroll with the one that I was holding. And I just watched it kind of heal in front of my eyes. And then I woke up. And I mean, it said dream work on it. It had ancient information in a language that I couldn't read. And but that's the type of like dream symbolism that's been in my dreams this past week.
Yeah. Your dreams definitely have been like astral travels, and it feels like very deep. Like you're going, yeah, it's I'm just going to throw out some words. I'm just like, I feel like you've been traveling to the Akashic record. You've been traveling, like meeting with, like it's okay. How do I explain it? So I've had different, like at different points through my spiritual journey, I'll always have like almost like these checkpoints.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I'm revisiting, like I'm at a checkpoint of going to like an Akashic record or a library of like either my life or something that has to do with my purpose. And this is like not always in dreams. A lot of the times this is just like what I'm learning, like with a teacher, and that's what's being uncovered through different like means of like I see something, I'm reading something, whatever. Or I'm having meditations lately, the last time this happened has been through the dreams, but it's always like this checkpoint within your purpose. And it's like right as you're about to like level up, like you're going to
Mm-hmm.
evolve, and it's like you're stepping into a higher echelon on your purpose. And it really gives me like the Page of Cups type experience, like the page and then going into the night in reference to, or I don't know why I said Page of Cups, but just the page in general in
Yeah.
tarot. And that's what your dreams have felt like. And I mean, like the dream you shared last week was kind of similar, where it was like you were in, like, I don't know if it was a library or you were at a university or something, but it was like you uncovered, like you came across a book, and it was like, no, she can't look at that yet. And it's like, so it feels like you're
Yeah.
accessing some hidden knowledge that is like relevant to your specific journey and purpose, especially like seeing dream
Yes.
work and then seeing like the Pisces symbol on a book. And so it feels like, like all of this information is being uncovered, and you're going through this like level up on your
Yes.
journey. And it's
On
like, it's
February
cool.
3rd, because it's all kind of like fresh in my head, like this, like I said, it's kind of just been like highlighted. February 3rd, the end of my dream, I was in a old bookstore slash library, and I discovered an ancient dream tome. And the end of the dream was me picking it up in my hands and blowing off the dust. So
Mm,
like it is, I'm definitely
yeah.
on the precipice of like really just moving forward. I almost feel like, because the way I kind of acknowledge my life is through stepping through one door and doing what you need to do, and then leaving that door into the liminal, and then you can
Mm,
see the next door in front
yeah.
of you, and I can like kind of, I can measure out where I am on my journey, if I'm you know halfway to this next door, if I'm right there about to open it, if I'm
Mhm.
still chained to the door behind me, like I can feel and kind of navigate where I am. And this feels like the door has been opened and I'm stepping through,
Yeah.
and I'm about to be like revealed all
Yeah.
of this unknown. And it's so strong, and I get so like fiery and excited about it, because it's like the fact too that these experiences are either very short or towards the end of my dream.
Yeah.
It's like it's
It's
teasing
like
me.
a
It's
cliffhanger.
like,
Yeah. It's
here
like, oh,
here's
you're
here
so
it is in the
close. Right.
takeaway.
And it's like an inch by inch in reference to like the way the dreams are sequenced and connected. That's so
Yeah,
fascinating. I'm excited for
no.
you.
And one more thing before I ask you how you're doing. I was up really late last night, and the reason was because I finished my first ever dream journal last night. And I spent the rest of
Wow.
the night like decorating it with stickers and stuff to really, really
Oh,
like close it and it be completed. But I kind of have put my dreams in random places. So I never,
yeah.
like, this dream journal was started in 2021
Yeah.
and it's 2025. And
Yeah.
I just finished it. And I'm like, this is a huge accomplishment.
Wow. That's a
I have
big
a
deal.
ton of personal waking day journals completed, but the
Yeah.
first dream journal, because it's so
Yeah.
hard to physically write it down, I'm
It
like,
really is.
yes.
Yeah, no, I know the feeling. I have like probably almost 20 like of my spiritual journals that I just like, yeah, all kinds of things, like my grimoires basically.
Yeah.
And I only have three dream journals, like three, like two finished, and one of them is
Mhm.
like really, really thin. And
Mhm.
I feel like the first one's not really like finished, but I felt complete with that. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
because I had other things in it, like other notes reference in reference to dreams and like precognitive things, like different
Mhm.
like conscious, like like subconscious, like programming type like methods and things and notes. But like the very first dream journal, that was really, really thin. So that was completed pretty much during the dream circle. And then I have like a thicker book that I'm probably about 2/3 of the way completing. So yeah, the dream journals are a lot harder to complete cover to cover. And so that's a really big deal and a big accomplishment. So yay, I'm so
It's
happy.
really driving my like want to continue. And like I explained this, I put up a little story the other day and I was like, when I sit down to write a dream, I am writing a book. And you have talked about this before. You just like,
It's so
there's
hard.
so much to it that you just write. And that's why it's always so difficult to sit down and
Yeah,
do it because it takes so much time. But I am very proud of myself and I'm taking this accomplishment and I am allowing myself to get a new fun journal and do my best to be consistent because yeah, I would
that's
like to be.
awesome. Yeah, and I would say like your so the theme of your dreams lately had also trickled into my dream space. I don't know if you actually I don't because we were sending a bunch of notes yesterday, like voice messages back and forth. So I don't know if you like caught the dream because it was like one message out of like probably 50. Um, but I had you were in a dream yesterday morning and we were like again the beginning of the dream was like a middle school dream, so I'm like what is happening, like it was like people probably like two or three people from my middle school. um but then like later in the dream I ended up at some outdoor like almost like an auditorium. It made me think of like an observatory. And
Ooh.
it was kind of like a blend of like college and like just yeah, I don't know. It was in outdoor events that I've been to, like sports events, but it was really just me at one point and like other people. And I remember I was doing some sort of simulation of like cosmos or like a starry sky or something, like it was like almost like a planetarium too, but it was like outside and it was like in the sky. And then you showed up like very soon after that and we were both sitting outside and we were sitting on like these boulders. It was like almost like we were in the mountains. And like if anyone's ever been to like Red Rocks or something like that, like it was kind of like Red Rocks is basically a stadium like in like the rock, like the Red Rocks or whatever, like an amphitheater. So it's kind of like that, but there wasn't a stage. We were just on rocks. And I remember where we were sitting was kind of wet and someone was like they were like, oh, like you can't sit here and because of whatever, I forgot the reason. And so we like got up and we kind of knew like, oh, like something was going on with these rocks. And so we started breaking them because they were wet. And it was like if you ever have broken what are they called them, little not
Geodes?
meteor geodes, yes,
Yeah.
it was like that. And so we broke them and there was like all these beautiful crystals, like some of them looked like agates, like with the rings and stuff, the different colors and very vibrant. Other ones looked like geodes. And we were just like, oh, we're just gonna like we started cracking them and like taking them. We're like, oh, crystals. But in the dream the name I got was moldavite for the
Ooh,
crystal, which is like, and
green,
so
right?
I think it's green, and it's one of those crazy, like very powerful stones, minerals that like is a big deal when it comes to transformation, like very, very,
Mhm.
very high vibrational stone. So I was like, damn, I feel like either you, me, or both of us, well, probably both of us are like, we need to get those.
Yeah,
So anyways, that came through. So I'm like, I feel like that's kind of on par with the type of dreams you've been having. And then
absolutely.
I'll just share like my dream incubation. So we talked about last week, there was a lot going on in reference to Venus and Pisces. And I incubated a dream and I was very like lazy with it, but I just went to bed really focused on my question, my intention, which was I wanted just more direction on my journey at this point. And the dream that came forth basically was um like my uncle was in my dream and my mom, and there was like a friend from high school who's like we're still close, so it wasn't like oh there's someone from the past. But anyways, long story short, we were going to clean out my grandmother's house, and there was some things going on with that, but like what I got from that was basically like you need to like the cleaning out grandma's house is like going like reading her journals basically. That's what I got
Yep.
when I woke up. So I was like, okay, I already know. I got it, like heard. So that was that. So, but yeah.
I I love it. I feel like right now, particularly in this season, since the Aquarius full moon, I mean, new moon, both of us have been having extremely clear and direct
Yeah.
dreams. I mean, even just listening to the first one, um, it really for me was like, oh, this is the hard work we've been putting in, and this is the reward that we're getting from putting in the hard work. I mean, breaking open geodes isn't like super easy,
It was
especially if
easy
they're
in the dream
huge.
though. It's crazy. We were just like taking them. They were just kind of almost crumbling.
I love that. And
It was really cool.
it's almost like our passion for this is so strong that it's not as difficult as it
Yeah.
was prior
Yeah.
to this.
Yeah.
Um and then yeah, cleaning out your your grandmother's house and really diving into those journals, that's absolutely it couldn't have been a more clear sign.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So that's the goodies. All right. So let's keep it moving, keep it flowing. So I'm just gonna remind or not remind you because you guys probably don't know, unless you listen to my cosmic climate, then you know. But I just want to share the dream like astrological signatures or transits for the week. That's a better way to say it. So on February 7th, we have Neptune in conjunction to the North Node, or you can say in alignment with the North Node. And the way that I perceive the North Node is basically like it literally looks like a portal. Like if you look at it, it's
Mm-hmm.
the like horseshoe, like, you know, not the U shape, but the in the other way, like literally
Yep.
like the portal.
Yep.
And so that North Node is like the direction of like the energy that we're taking in, that we're consuming. Like it's almost like this insatiable, like, I got to learn this, I got to embody this, experience this. And in transit, it's more of like the collective experience. And right now it's in Pisces. And I mean, hello, that's your dreams, intuition, other realms, astral travel, all the things that we love here with Journey Through the Universe. And so, yeah, that seems like a very profound day of like, or I would say like maybe the night before. So basically, you guys are here live. So tomorrow, I would maybe, if you can, go to bed just like either with an intention or just like feeling into that energy. And Neptune is very nebulous. It's a very nebulous energy to it. Like it's hard to grasp. Also with Neptune, Neptune's really good at dissolving boundaries, and it could really send you through a loop and have you questioning what is really real, right? So it really kind of blurs the lines of reality. And so you can work with that in your favor by like setting an intention to like have a dream of astral travel, or you know, whatever you desire right at this time. It'll really blur the lines and help you to penetrate through a veil, like, or a limitation. So that's happening February 7th. So I would say, you know, February, um, what, 6, like going to bed with an intention if you desire. The next astrological like dream type transit is on February 9th. It's Mercury Kazemi. I love Mercury Kazemi for dream work. That's like one of my favorite transits that I always work with, especially when Mercury's retrograde. Mercury isn't retrograde right now, but nonetheless, it's still potent. And so basically when Mercury Kazemi means Mercury in the heart of the sun. And ancient astrologers perceive this moment to be a time like an auspicious moment, a time of good fortune, of prosperity, divine messages coming through. And I really connect with the sun as divine intelligence, like that, like spirit or like chi, that very like almost like a supercomputer type energy, or just like pure spirit and fire. And it's an Aquarius. Hold on, I need to drink some water. Sorry, friends.
Yeah, hey, you're getting out so much
I got
information.
incense coming through. Mm. But it is yeah, with Aquarius energy, it is really connecting us to the cosmic consciousness, right? That divine intelligence that is connected to the cosmos. It's, you know, when you see the Aquarius, you associate it with even the star card, right? Like drawing down that wisdom and intelligence of the heavens and sharing that with others. And so the way personally I'm going to connect with this energy is going to be just like opening my crown chakra to that cosmic energy. And you can really do that through dream work. You can also do through meditation of visualizing golden light, or prism light is one of the ones that I really love. Visualizing prism light coming through.
Ooh.
And yeah, you can kind of also invite this energy to come through in your dream space. And you can also do dream incubation and ask a question or ask for healing or guidance like through this channel. So those are the dream transits for the week.
Ooh, that's so
Woo,
exciting, and I
that's a
feel
lot.
like we're gonna have a lot of revelations in our dreams this week. I can feel it.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. I couldn't even like I was like it was all coming out really quickly. I'm like, yes, I'm so excited about these alignments. Yeah, so I just want to check in with the chat here. We have a lot of folks sharing their moon signs, so let's check in here.
Yes, please.
All right. So let's see what we got. So Jen is an Aries moon. Jen's here with an Aries
Ooh.
moon. All of my dreams are in a building majority of the time with the room shaped differently. Very interesting. Mary is a Taurus moon. A lot of dreams with me always leading somehow. Lately, a lot of activity. I can't remember the rest right now. Fair enough.
Ooh.
Courtney is a Cancer moon. Ooh, we'll be talking about Aries, Taurus, and Cancer tonight. So you're in
Yes,
luck.
we will.
And Courtney has common themes of grandma, receiving healing from elder women, driving cars, being in moving cars.
Ooh.
Jen is mentioning other common themes with spirit animals, and sometimes guides will show up. Jace here is reminding himself that he's a Pisces moon, because first he said Aquarius, no Pisces. Yes, you're a Pisces moon.
You're an Aquarius rising,
Christopher's,
base.
yeah, Aquarius rising, big three here. Christopher's an Aries moon. And
Oh,
let's see, Richard says Chat GPT tells me my moon is in Sagittarius. Cool.
I love that.
And we have some comments about Moldavite. Courtney says Moldavite, yes, green, very powerful. Um, yeah, so everyone's agreeing Moldavite is strong and powerful. Like it's strong. Like I feel like you have to be grounded just to wear the stone. And I have a client that Moldavite came up for her like months ago, kind of for both of us. And I was like, okay, if I find it, if I see it, if it comes up again, I'll wear it. And now it's coming. And I was like, because it's a lot. And now it's coming up again. So I'm like, all right, fine. I
I
need
have
it
to
though.
get
Like when
some.
I think about it, I'm like, I need that oomph. I need that
Yeah,
like, whoo. All right.
yeah, same. And it's funny. Not last night, but the night before, I had a dream. And at one point in the dream, there was a large green stone It was fluorite, not moldavite,
Hmm.
that had been knocked over. So the common correlation of green gems is
Yeah.
very interesting too.
Yeah, that's something to think about. All right, so we're going to get into the conversation. As I mentioned, this is going to be about dreams and the zodiac signs, and specifically the moon signs. I think that's the first point. Like, that's the best place to look in reference to just the pure nature and essence of your connection to the dream space. And the reason I feel or believe that this is important is because of our emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And in our waking life, our emotions really kind of, it's our driving force. It influences how we move through the world. So if you're someone who's like happy, energetic, like you're going to move through the world, like manifesting things and, making great connections and just very confident. And like you're always probably on the go versus like if you are depressed or anxious, like it's like a lot, like the way you move is going to be a lot slower. There's going to be resistance, and there's just a lot to literally move through when you're in those like heavier emotions. And so with that in consideration, I really feel called to even, looking at the moon sign, especially in the fact that when you're doing dream work and dream interpretation, we tend to like focus primarily on the emotions, at least first. Like, how did you
Mm-hmm.
feel in the dream? How did you feel when you woke up? Like, that's something, if you can't remember anything, like most of us remember how we feel and when we wake up, and a lot of the times it might be like like, I didn't feel anything. When you have those like really amazing like days where you just like wake up and you're super inspired and you're in a high vibration, you remember that. And you remember when you have anxious dreams or nightmares and you wake up in that
Yeah.
space.
Even if you don't remember having a dream and you just wake up with the feeling, like that can say a lot. And it's still something important to write down if you document your dreams, writing down the date and just how you feel if that's all that you got from waking up.
Yeah, because you really get a sense of where you are vibrationally and just like maybe what you have experienced like while sleeping. I
Mm-hmm.
know personally, and I've shared here on the podcast many times that when I'm anxious, like my dreams reflect that. And when I
Oh, yeah.
started dream work, that was pretty much the theme. That was like the baseline. It was like anxious dreams all over the place. And now I'm happy that, through dream work, I've been able to really transform that. And I see and I can recognize those patterns, and I know when I'm anxious and I need to make a change like in my waking life. So that's
Oh
been
my
really
gosh,
helpful.
incorporating your dreams and fusing them into your day to day, like pulling those lessons and those feelings out from your subconscious and applying them to your waking space is so significantly helpful and healing. Like, and the more you pay attention to it, it almost seems like the quicker you're moving through your lowest points and the longer your higher points tend to feel like they last.
Yeah. Yeah, and the moon. So we all know that the moon sign, I feel like mostly everyone knows, like, even if you don't really know a lot about astrology, we know that the moon has some sort of like sway on our emotions, even if you want to deny it. Like, people that work even in like the hospitals, like, I know a few nurses in there, like, they have confirmed, because I'm like, is it really a thing like around full moons that it's crazy in the hospital? And then
Oh, yeah.
I like, my daughter came 2 weeks early to and was like, she came on a full moon, like literally within a few hours of it
Purposeful.
peaking, right? And it's like, yeah, I wasn't ready, and it was like, yeah, no, she was, nature was, my body was, and that happens. That moon has a really strong connection to our emotions, and so we tend to know the main correspondence of the moon, which is emotions, intuition, and dreams, of course, and also you could say the subconscious mind. And when I really think about the moon, as we also, a lot of us know that there is a connection to water, and water holds memory.
Mhm.
And I've learned this in past studies as far as like energy work. that memory, I believe the Hebrew, um not translation, but like memory breaks down to liquid light, basically, like in Hebrew. And
Ooh.
so when I think about that, that liquid light and just that light holding memory, there's this connection to like that aspect of the moon that we hear about that's connected to like family and connected to even the mother or the ancestral roots. And so that memory that is held within the moon, and a lot of us love the high priestess, right? Like when if we're, using tarot cards or just in that mysticism type energy, the high priestess also is connected to the moon, and she holds the sacred records. Like she's the record keeper, and she holds the teachings of time, of lifetime, the memories, and so with the moon that comes into play too, is like being um the keeper of the memory through generations, through lifetimes, through family, through ancestral roots, through spiritual roots as well. And so then we start to get those other moon associations that include like psychic abilities and hidden energies and astral travel. And
Mm-hmm.
so it makes so much sense that we would really, our first point of connection to the dream and like more of like the macro perspective is through the moon. And so that is why I personally, through experience and just through like logical reasons, I like to look at the moon as that first step in reference to connecting like astrology with dreams or dreams in the zodiac.
Absolutely. I mean, it makes so much sense, and there's so much intuition, like you said, hidden knowledge, and the unconscious, like that space. And when we dream, it's normally at night when the moon is out. Like
Yeah.
it just correlates.
Yeah. And then sometimes when the more light the moon projects, the less we sleep.
Yeah.
Getting the full moon frenzy, but like when the moon is dark, I sleep like a baby. But like,
Yes.
yeah, so it's interesting. And yeah, so definitely a big influence. And so what we're going to do with all of that said is that we're going to go through Aries to Virgo, and we're just basically going to share like the key qualities of these signs. And like I said, it's their pure archetype. Not taking other, like, oh, but what if they have, an Aquarius sun or anything like that? We're not taking that in consideration. We're just like looking at the pure archetype that these signs represent. And then we're just going to share like how that might influence their dream space, or how they might even like how this influenced the way they process emotions. Because again, if it's like, say, we're not going to talk about Capricorn tonight, but I can say from a Capricorn moon, like it's not like I tend to put emotions on the back burner, or I like keep it private. And
Hmm.
so that act in waking life may influence how I approach dreams and like the emotions that come forth through dreams, right? Which makes, I'll just say really briefly, like it took me a really long time to get into the dream work. And when I think about the moon, my moon sign in reference to that, I'm like, the moon's not so happy in Capricorn, and that really makes sense. I don't like to be vulnerable, and I don't want to go there. So that's what we're going to do tonight in this chat.
Yeah, I'm very excited. This is going to be insanely insightful for myself, just
Yeah.
because I am newer to astrology. I can say now that I've been studying it for a little bit, but I'm still very new. So hearing your insight and your knowledge and kind of like guiding me through this is like a sage. Like I'm very, very excited to learn.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to start with Aries, the very first sign. And I will also share, so I'm going to share as far as like the moon's temperament in these signs as well. And so what I mean by temperament, it's like how well can they like balance their emotions? How can they handle like what's their emotional temperament? How do they handle like, the flow of like feelings? But Aries in their own pure essence, and we're gonna say the positive and the challenging. right? So we're gonna be kind here, but anyways, so but don't shoot us if I'm like, they're like this.
It's
Don't kill the
balanced. You
messenger.
have good qualities and bad qualities
Yeah,
to
all the
every
signs
single
do. Yeah,
sign.
like no one's
There's no way
perfect.
to avoid
Yeah.
it. We're
No
not trying
judgment.
to put anything in a negative light. This is just the facts.
Yeah. So Aries, I would say that they're, and of course Alexis add, yours as well, but Aries, they are very independent. They are very passionate and courageous. I would say their challenges can be that they're impulsive, or Aries in general is impulsive, competitive and impatient. And they can also be kind of like self-focused, self-centered in
Mm-hmm.
a way, because it is the first sign that's all about like being in the moment and being like, here, I'm here. Like it's about me.
Yeah, when I think about Aries, I think of the the the, the horns, and people I know who have Aries moon, those horns come out in like the most random times. Like, I mean, I'll be like, "Hey, we should do A, B, and then C," and they're like, "No, we should do B, C, and A." And then they'll be like, "Actually, that makes sense. Let's do that." And I'm like, it's like you
Like
have
a
to have
game
that
almost.
what you think is better first, and then you're like, okay, all right, I'm hearing you, and I'm moving forward.
Yeah. So it's like, the way I could see like Aries, as far as like what would be supportive for Aries in the dream space is like having that discipline, because there's so much passion. Like I feel with like Aries moon people where it's like there's, or just Aries in itself as a sign, as an archetype, there's like so much passion, and there's always this innate like almost like fighter or like independent, like you can't tell me what to do, I'm in the moment.
Combative.
Or any kind of challenge, it's an opportunity for like a battle or like some competitiveness. And
Mm-hmm.
so like what I tend to see when it comes to Aries moon is like there's like a very slippery slope into like frustration, into like anger, and of course it's like all of the impatience, like they might not want to wait. And this is kind of a theme for like I would say fire moons in general, where there's
Yeah.
like an impatience there of like I want it now. And
When
it's
I
just
think
like
of,
because that fire
sorry.
is so fast.
Yeah, it is. And when I think of Aries being fire, I usually think of those like candles that don't go out. So like you'll blow them out and then they'll spark back up and they'll go out and they'll spark back
Yeah.
up. And it's like it's not a raging fire, it's like hits of it and then diffusion. Hits of it and then diffusion. And like
Yeah.
there's a lot of power that comes with that. And I feel like one of the things that Aries will need to work on that will benefit them down the line is to allow people to kind of work with them, instead of always being independent and going by your leader thinking, leaving room for other perspective, leaving room for other voices.
Yeah. Yeah, so essentially the way, we could see that through the dream space is like I think what would be really helpful for Aries moon, because like many other signs, there's such a strong desire for independence, and it's like I can do this, or like yeah, it's just like your way is just so powerful, and like you're so passionate about your way or your emotions, or like yeah, just you. I feel that what would kind of be a challenge but supportive for Aries moon, especially when it comes to dream work, is like being a part of a community and surrendering to, you know, just the experience of hearing others' perspective. And this
Yep.
is like, and I'm all like naturally I'm just thinking about other moon signs with like even Aquarius, where it's like Aquarius is like they're really good at hearing other people's opinions, and like also, but it's like, okay, I hear that, I see that, but this is what I got going on. Like
Yeah.
I'm good with what I got going on. And
Yeah.
it's like that, where it's like just because like if someone shares, their interpretation, or you share, doesn't mean that by you sharing or by you hearing them out, that you're giving your power away. Because I think there's a power dynamic there. And so if, when it comes to dreams and like the Aries archetype, it would be beneficial to like allow that support from others in
Yes, and
reference
not
to
to
the
take
dream
it
work.
as like a competition.
Yeah.
Think of it as a growth together rather than a competition against each other.
Yeah.
And I feel like that could show up in the dreams in, an example would be like if you are trying to lead a group of people, but nobody's listening to you and everybody's going in 100 different directions.
Yeah.
And everybody's also like screaming at you what to do next. And like that might be a challenge for you to like a blockage to really take control of the benefits that go with that sign. If that makes sense.
Yeah. And I think that, Aries would be really good at also, taking the lead on different, like in different dream groups, right? Or like even establishing that, but also like exploring like different, just dream, like when it comes to say, we did an episode weeks ago or like months ago about lucid dreaming and the different like scientific, like the different methods of lucid dreaming and testing out like the different theories and whatnot. I feel like that would be something maybe interesting for Aries to do, just something like different and like
Mm-hmm.
kind of taking the lead on, yeah, like a dream practice or a dream theory, but then also just like being open to like that communal support would be nice to balance that out.
Yes, being a leader with input from your I don't know, my brain went to boss. Like if you're going to be a good leader as a boss, the best way you can be a good leader is to take in everybody's input and kind of do a collaboration to make the flow go well rather than just sticking with your ideas and what works for you and what you think works for everything but may only just like work for you.
Yeah.
It's a very powerful sign, and I can see how it can be overwhelming to control that.
Mm-hmm. Especially like if, with Aries moon, if there's like a default in general, and this is just like purely on the archetype, but if there's a default to like these very hot emotions and being able, so I would rate the emotional temperament of Aries to be kind of low, just because like it's like with emotions, it takes time to process. To really, I feel like with emotions, it's like, you want to embody it, you want to feel it in your body, and let that sensation inform you. And I feel like Aries would be good at feeling where the sensation is in their body, but where the challenge would come forth would be with like giving it time to inform you. And so that impatience can come really into play when it comes to like really sitting with the emotion that comes forth from the dreams and seeing like what that means. Like, so like giving the time and space and discipline of like looking at the dream work as like a whole, like when I mentioned often about doing like being consistent with your dream work for 28 days. So like for Taurus, that probably would come a lot easier than like for Aries, where it's just like in the moment, let's do this. I'm fired up about this. I'm inspired by this. And then, next night's dream is like, and then you kind of lose that momentum. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
that discipline and being able to like really feel the emotions that come forth and really allow that experience to like take, some time to integrate would
And I
be.
feel like, when we think of the moon, it is, it's ruled by water. When we
Mhm.
think of Aries, it's ruled by fire. And when you have the moon, a water planet in a fire sign, you have to do your best to not allow the water to put out your flame,
Or
but
boil
allow
over.
the flame to boil your water.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, that's why it's like temperament is like definitely a big one, like tempering your emotions
It is,
and
because if you
seeing
let
how
that
that influences
flame,
your dream space.
if you let that flame like overwhelm, like if it boils over and it steams out, you have nothing left. And you really have to find that balance.
Yeah. And then seeing how that plays out in your dream space, because your dreams will always inform you. Dreams are just like, what I love about dream work is that it's so present and like in the moment. So it's like, if you want to figure out if you're confused or if you're just so busy, you have no idea, like, I don't know what I'm feeling. I have no direction. Like, everything's like your dream will tell you, like, this is what is at the forefront. This is what's most important. This is where your vibration is. This is like your mindset.
Mm-hmm.
So, that will really give you some direct insight, of, yeah, especially for Aries, if you're moving so fast, just in general, that it's like your dream space will help you to kind of like slow that down if you give it permission to, like if you pay attention
Yes,
that way.
absolutely. Absolutely. Slow it down and give yourself the opportunity to take what the dream space is giving you.
Yeah. Yeah. So I feel like there were a few of you who had Moon and Aries. Jen says spot on for Aries moon. Ha ha ha. Yes, accurate for the horns, Alexis. So that was like on
And
point
it's
with there.
not, I really didn't mean that in a negative way either, because there are there is an incredible intuition that can be had with having that like defensiveness, that like combativeness, like, but then there's also that aspect of just wanting it to be your way,
Yeah.
and like balancing out that act of like, oh, this is my intuition going full force, like on the fire's high with that, and just wanting to be right. It's like balancing that out.
Yeah.
um but it can be so useful and so just creative, and there can be so much behind it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would say like Aries moon would be really helpful when it comes to nightmares and getting through a nightmare, or like resolving the nightmare, in the sense of like with lucid dreams, where they're like, oh, like go into your nightmare lucid if you can, or maybe do it through setting an intention, but face your whatever this nightmare situation is. Like Aries has the boldness, the courageousness, the fight to
Yes,
like actually
fight.
pull that off. So that
Transform
would be
yourself
like,
in your dream as the ram shooting fires out of your
right,
eyes to defeat whatever is trying to take you
right.
down
And
in
just
that
ramming
nightmare.
your horns. Yes. Like it would be perfect for that. All right. So you guys have to let us know your personal thoughts on Aries and the dream space. So feel free to leave it in the chat. If you're listening to the replay, feel free to leave your comments for any of these in the comment section. All right. So we're going to move forward to Taurus. And Taurus is the place where the moon is like celebrated, it's exalted, it's at a high expression, high vibration. It's like, oh, it's everything. And this is because like Taurus is like the most grounded sign of the zodiac. Like it's literally, it's the bull. You're not moving Taurus, like it's solid, it's good.
Mm.
And so the moon has a very safe space to move through all of the emotions. Like it could be moody as hell, and it's like, it's in a really solid container.
Mm-hmm.
And so the main qualities that stood out to me, or that I go to for Taurus, is that it's dependable, it's definitely practical, and it's absolutely grounded. And
Mm-hmm.
then as far as the challenging qualities of Taurus, is that it's stubborn as hell. It's resistant to change. And,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it could be materialistic, or more so just very like, I would say materialistic in the sense of like very like physical, or like earth desires, like earthly desires, very anchored in like the earthly or practical realm.
Yeah, absolutely. And like the people I've known who have Taurus moon, on the positive side, like they can be extremely patient and calm. They are very deliberate, sensual, like very in tune with that Venus planet that rules Taurus. And but on the other side, they can be, like you said, extremely stubborn and slow to change. And when you're stuck in the inability or the lack of want to move forward, you're gluing and cementing yourself in that tunnel and you're not moving forward with everyone else. You're staying behind, and it can cause a lot of damage in relationships.
Yeah. Yeah, and I can see how that could be reflected in the dream space in the sense of like if it's hard for you to, it's like the as within, so without type situation where it's like our waking life will, of course, influence our dreaming life and vice versa. And so if you're
Mm-hmm.
very stubborn, if you're very resistant to change, then in your dreaming space, it might be really hard for you to really receive the messages for change. Like it might be hard for you
Yes.
to like you might be able to practically or like you might be able to understand like what your dreams are telling you, but to have the motivation and action to like it's a slow process of that change happening in your waking life because it's like I have my brother's a Taurus. I have a lot of people in my life that have these Taurus qualities and they are so dependable. Like
Oh
it's
yeah.
crazy. Like they're literally like my lifelines when I need
Yeah.
it, but like when it comes to like with my brother, he's like the king of being like, "No, I'm good." Like when I'm like, "Oh, like let's do this thing or let's try this or what about this?" And he's like, "I'm good." Like for just like no reason, like he just doesn't like it just he doesn't feel like it, like he doesn't.
Yeah, it just doesn't
It's
feel like it.
different, it's gonna probably take a lot of energy, which it wouldn't, but just the thought of it, it's new, so it feels, um so he surprises me when I do bring something up where he is like, okay, cool. And so I could see how like dream work, for someone with a Taurus, like strong Taurus energy. Like dream work dream work, when I say dream work, I mean not only are you recording your dreams, but you're also taking action.
Yes. And
Like,
it's interesting because when I think of Taurus too, like they're very comfortable in their natural world, in their body,
yeah.
with food and comfort and just like, you know, that might make it hard to interact in their dream space because they're so grounded in the waking material realm that reaching those higher, like more airy, more out there spaces could be incredibly challenging for them.
Yeah, and like dreams and astral travel, it's literally like you're like the experience is being disembodied, right? Like you're
Yeah.
outside of your body. And then once you like in the waking life, you're integrating that experience into the physical. Like that's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like dream
It
work
is
is
a
a
lot.
lot. So I could see like you're spot on if someone's like they're very connected to like the earthly material type experience and their comfort
Yeah.
where it's like there's a lot of unknowns happening in the dream space. There's like weird things like I technically like don't have control. So yeah, it could be quite a challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with it being fixed. Like,
Yeah.
if it's more of a cardinal sign, or it's or immutable, it's just a little bit easier to go with the flow of things. Where with the fixed sign,
And this
it's
earth, it's
just tough.
like, yeah, it's fixed earth.
You're
And
glued
so,
to the
yeah,
ground. You have to rip the roots out a little bit.
yeah, you gotta like kind of like it makes me think of like when I notice like with my plants and that I love that you mentioned that because I always think about Taurus. Like when I think about Taurus, I think about like tree roots or just like I think about planting. And I notice sometimes with my plants, like if I haven't given them fresh soil or anything for a while, and like the water just like, or they need to be repotted and the water just drains out, like I'll start by like poking holes or like caressing the
Loosing it
soil
up.
and then the roots, right? So I'm like, okay, let's retain a little bit of this. But it's like, but you got to get things moving around because it gets so stagnant. And
Yeah.
that's like a perfect example. And I think that with Taurus, what would be like Taurus is like, as far as like emotional temperament, it's high, probably almost
Hmm.
to like the extreme
Yeah,
end of the spectrum. And
absolutely.
this is why I've said before, I did a video on this in the past, like a couple of years ago, where like exalted planets, like exalted or planets in a sign that's where it's exalted, doesn't mean it's a good thing. Like, and I will
Mhm.
say this because I have Venus in Pisces, and I'm like,
It's a
um, it's
challenge.
it's like it's an extreme. Like you really need. I feel like when a planet is in their natural home, say like Venus in Taurus or Moon in Cancer, you get a balanced type energy, like experience. When it's exalted, it's like too much of a good thing might not necessarily be a good thing.
Yeah,
But
and
with
you might not know how to harness that. You may have these strengths, but because it is such an extreme, it might take you a very, very long time to learn how to harness your own powers. And I see that especially with Taurus, if they're unable to harness those powers, like I said, they get glued, their roots are stuck to the ground, they get stuck in the tunnel, and life and everything is moving past them, and they just kind of keep doing the same pattern over and over and over again.
yeah,
And resulting in the same exact um like results or consequences of the inaction.
yeah. So I would say dream work as a whole is like a benefit for for Taurus. It's
Yes.
like let's break away from the extreme and let's just dive into dream work. And I feel that with Taurus and like any of these signs that are might be like fixed, or well, this is the only sign that the moon is exalted in. Um, but it's like I feel that compensatory dreams might be kind of can be a dream theme where it's like there's so much like energy in this direction where your dreams might be like, oh, like this Taurus individual is like in this whole new place where it's like foreign, and it's like you're out of your comfort zone, and like a
Oh yeah,
completely different experience to kind of balance out that rigidity and just like what you're so the comfort zone of what you're used to. So
absolutely.
I think that that would be probably the kind of experience, or what would be supportive for Taurus. And it like literally just do some dream work and be like, Taurus is really good with like consistency. So I feel like once that becomes a routine, then that would be like wonders.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. So let us know what you think about that in the chat. So the next sign is Gemini. And I love Gemini.
I do.
I've had close friends, and I think it's obviously my air energy. Um,
Hmm.
but they're interesting. So I would say Gemini, they are, when I think about Gemini, they're the builders, they're the learners, they're the networkers. They're just like they're out doing all the like little like creating the webs and like the intricate
Yeah.
things. Like I just yeah, they're doing all the social things that I cannot do personally.
Yes, they're like charming and
But yeah, they're
playful and like,
charming. They're
but it's
explore.
so
Yeah.
Gemini is so interesting to me because I know Geminis and I know Gemini moons, and like when they're up, but when they're down, they are down.
Oh, their
And,
moods.
and it's always
Yeah.
such an extreme balance, like, and for it to be in the sign, or the moon to be in the sign of Gemini, where your emotions are ruled by the moon, and then you're so up and down. Like
They're
I
flighty. Yeah.
they're flighty,
And I can
flighty.
say firsthand, I'm gonna have a whole life of this because my child has a full moon in Gemini. So I'm getting all the teaching on this on this because it's
Yeah.
like what I would say I admire about her moon is that she's so like 1 minute she's like this, like 1 minute she's like raging out, and the next minute she's like laughing, and I'm like, Like
Yeah,
literally, I say all the time, I don't say it to her, but I say it to myself. I'm like, that, like, this is like emotional abuse. This is like an emotional roller coaster, especially for
it's
my moon in
so
Capricorn, where it's just like I'm like freaking out. And then all of a sudden she's laughing, and I'm like, oh, these are happy sounds now. Like, you're freaking mad. You're nuts. You're nuts. Um, so anyways, Gemini, Gemini positive, um, beneficial qualities, I would say, they're adaptable, they're very expressive, and they're curious, which is
yes.
really nice for the dream space.
And
They're
intelligent. They're
they're
so
intelligent, very
so
smart, and
smart.
very
Like
like
some of the
quick minds.
smartest people I know, and in ways that are like I just my brain can't wrap around it. A lot of like technological things, like my brain, I just it's insane.
No, they're interesting. They have really interesting minds, very unique.
Oh, they do.
And so there, I would say their challenges, just from my perspective, is the restless nature, the inconsistency, and then maybe like the fleeting energy, like the flighty
Yeah.
energy.
Getting bored too easily.
Very, yeah,
And I
yeah,
feel like that could affect the dream so intensely because if you're bored in your dream, you're not taking in the information or the messages that are like being presented to you.
yeah, yeah. I could totally see that. And it's just like I feel like what would be one of the greatest challenges with the Gemini archetype, and you can say Gemini moon, is that there is like with the restlessness, and say if that's again, it's happening in your waking life. Like I know whenever I'm restless and at times like therefore probably anxious, like my dreams have no like substance. Like there a lot of the
Yes.
times I don't even remember. Like it's
It
like, oh, I
dissipates
had to
like
like, yeah,
smoke.
it dissipates, or they're anxious dreams. And so it's really hard to like grasp them, I would say, with that, the Gemini energy.
I agree with that 100%.
But if the Gemini can be like grounded or implement like at least like I would say what would be helpful for Gemini individuals is to have like a practice, um like before bed, or like what I talk about, clearing like the day residue, basically clearing that. Like if they can have a practice where they can separate the day from the night, from bedtime, and be able to like bring their energy to center
Yep.
and be like calm going to bed, like then they can really embrace that curiosity aspect of Gemini in their dream space.
I
So
think
I think
one of
that's
the
key.
things that could help them too is when you wake up in the morning, as you're writing the dream, interpret every aspect you can.
Mm-hmm.
Learn about every single thing you can, because that'll give you that this is new information. You're constantly getting new information, and then you're learning more about it by doing the interpretation as you're writing rather than just writing it down and moving on. Because I
Yeah.
feel like needing to dive deeper into it will keep the attention and kind of allow that grounding in the waking space to project into that dreaming space. It'll be hard to start. Like writing it down is one thing, interpreting is another thing. And like, but that might be the inspiration that like a Gemini moon would need to not get bored with it.
Right. Yeah. And like kind of turning it into, if you're really ambitious, right? Like turning it into a story, like having fun with it. I feel
Yes.
Geminis can be very playful, or I feel
Oh,
like
so
when
playful.
they're playful, they're more like engaged and they can be focused. And so, like, making it like a game or making it fun somehow, like turning it into a story or making it like a game, or just being playful with it, like making it like an adventure type experience where it's like, okay, like I'm gonna try to go to this place in my dream. Like I feel dream incubation, and literally like astral travel, like having that intention for your dream space to astral travel will be
Mm-hmm.
incredibly beneficial for like Gemini moon people, or just Gemini when in reference to dreams. And
Absolutely.
I would say, as far as like the emotional temperament of Gemini, I would say it's kind of like in the middle,
Mm-hmm.
in a sense, because like that's the thing with it's not a water sign, so it's not like some water signs where it's like clinging to the emotions, and it's not like a fire sign where it's just like it just like fuel to the fire or it like completely like washes it out. But it's like there's a beauty to like the air signs with the emotional experience or even the experience of dreams, because it's like you can take that and you can also like analyze it. You just got to be careful not to like
Yes.
over analyze, right? So
Yes.
there's that capacity to it too. And so you
You
can
know,
get
this
really get a
just,
lot out of it.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. This just came to me too with how to work with your dreams with the Gemini moon. When you think about how much connection and networking and communication that they enjoy, one of the things they can do is learn to lucid dream and communicate and network with the dream people that they're encountering.
Yes. Oh, yes. That's a good one. Connecting with the dream people.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. That's
Find the
good.
connections. You can do it in the waking life, you can do it in the dream life. Allow yourself to learn how to be in the dream awake, like be conscious within your dream, and then take advantage of your abilities to communicate and learn as much as possible from the dream people around you.
All right. So that was brilliant. And we're going to end on that with Gemini. So we're going to move to Cancer. And as we all know, Cancer is the beautiful home, the comfort
Mm-hmm.
zone where all of her things are, like just
Yep.
that sweet space of the moon. So
Mm-hmm.
we have that. And I would say, I mean, there's so many qualities about Cancer and reference, like if I think about dreams and just in general, but I noted our Cancer's key qualities are intuitive, empathic, and nurturing as far as like the positive, and the challenging would be like avoidant, overly sensitive, and clingy, right?
Yeah, and to add to that, the cancers need to feel safe. They are
Mm-hmm.
anchored down by familiarity. So what they know, what they feel safe with, and they can easily withdraw when they feel like they're in
Yep.
danger. And incorporating this into like the dream space, I know people who have Cancer moons and they often have nightmares of being in danger.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the ways that you can move through that nightmare and overcome it is to find the strength within yourself to actually fight back and face what's coming to you head on.
Yeah, I feel that. And I think like the dream space would be so beneficial of like, because I feel Cancer, of course, is so connected to their emotions. Like they cannot
So
be
connected.
disconnected from them. It is
No.
who they are.
Mm-hmm.
That the dream space like is a powerful, place for them to really like process whatever it is that they're feeling, right?
Yeah,
And to like just become stronger within themselves, right? To find that security and safety within themselves. And then I feel naturally they will be more confident and stronger in being that for others, because it's like Cancer is like the nurturer. It is that sign, the mother, the archetype that is creating space for life, for their whatever they love to thrive, whatever they birth or create to thrive. And that's already a natural instinct. So, naturally you have to be solid and good within yourself to be a provider.
mm-hmm.
And so the dream space is definitely a perfect place to strengthen those skills or like just build the connection with yourself
Yeah,
so that you can show up in the way that your natural instincts are guiding you to show up.
absolutely. And not allowing your fears to drive you because, you
Mm-hmm.
know, what I was saying before, like I know people who have Cancer moons, and it really is that fear factor and that inability to get past the danger. And I feel like because they're so intuitive, they have so much that's coming through, but they're so distracted by the nightmare,
Mm-hmm.
the fear, and like, maybe going about it in a sense of like you need to nurture the dream space in order to collect the messages, whatever is angry, whatever is scary needs nurturing.
Yeah.
So to go into the dream or go into the nightmare with the, lucid and knowing I have nightmares a lot, I'm going to become lucid and I'm going to nurture this fear, this anger, this whatever these negative things are coming up and like chasing me. I'm going to nurture that and give it what it needs so that the light can shine through and I can move
Yeah.
through and get the messages that I need.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's also a really nice place for um the ability to learn your own emotions and
Yes.
like your own energy, because with that empathic nature of Cancer, it's like you take on, and you also feel responsible for other people's emotions and whatnot and needs. And so the dream space will really help you to get clear on your own emotions so you can, that can be reflected in your waking life. You can have clear boundaries and know what's yours and know what's theirs. And like that separation within itself will allow you to be a better support for those that you care about. Because 9 times out of 10, you're taking on the heaviness of those that, and the emotions, the trauma, whatever it is, of those that you
Yeah.
care about, a family, those close to
Mm-hmm.
you. And so that is, dream work will be beneficial for you in that regard.
Yeah, and I almost feel like too the that Cancer moon has a stronger connection to the collective unconscious too.
Yeah.
And it could be a struggle to navigate that.
Hmm.
Na- Navigate what's yours and what's everybody else's
Yeah.
collectively.
So I would say the emotional temperament of Cancer, in my opinion, is both like high and low. So maybe it's in the middle. Like I can swing, like it swings. It's
It's a
moody. Like
pendulum.
Cancer, right? Cancer like feels all the things. So at one moment it can be very strong and supported in that, and then at times it feels like the low experience, like the low temperament of emotions, and it could be like in that whole experience. So which makes sense because it's the natural home and it's meant to flow through all the things, and it's a water sign, and yeah, so naturally moody by nature.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes sense. All right, let's move on to Leo. We're gonna do this. We're gonna get through all six tonight. I'm excited. So Leo, we're on our second fire sign, and it is like the creative, the creator type
Mm-hmm.
sign. And so the key qualities for Leo I got is creative, confident, and generous. And then the challenging qualities would be egoistic, dramatic, and possessive. How about you? What are your thoughts on this?
So, Leos have qualities of being brave and spirited. They thrive on attention, admiration, and respect. They can be very honorable, honest, have a lot of integrity, and creative, and warm. Something I've noticed a consistency in Leo moons, though, is they don't remember their dreams often. And I
Mm,
almost feel like it's because they're so present in the waking space and they have so much going on at all times that it can be
yeah.
difficult to retain what is being given to them in the dream space.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think of like Leo moons in my life and if I've had conversations with them about dreams, and I don't think so. And I'm thinking even about like my brother is, no, is he? No, he's a Sag moon. He's got Leo rising. But yeah, no, it's yeah, there's something there. And yeah, I feel like there's such a connection in creation, and like when we think about ego, it's not necessarily like, again, it's not a bad thing. I know you guys hear this a lot. It's like the nature of like the experience that we're in here on earth, like to create, to be connected to the ego, the conscious mind. And like the ego to me is the conscious mind. So it makes sense
Mm-hmm.
that there wouldn't be a strong connection to other aspects of the mind because there's like
They're
it's
ruled
the
by the
sun. It's like
sun.
everything's
They're in the
revolving around me.
sun. They're not in the moon. They're not
It's the
in the
bright, yeah, they're in the
darkness.
sun.
They're
Yeah,
in the sun.
exactly.
And I
Yeah.
feel like really allowing yourself, like when it comes to a dream practice, to, similar to, I think we talked about this with Gemini, but like kind of like taking off the day before going to
Yeah.
like releasing the day before going to bed and having time to do nothing, be off your phone, sit in meditation, breathe, and just exist and allow whatever happened that day to move through you so that when you go to sleep you just have an easier time accessing that. And you could you know dream incubate and create within your dream. That might
Yeah.
be something that could be inspirational to you, is like being there and creating a piece of art or a interesting building, and like or creating the landscape for the dream. Another thing too could be like, going places in your dream that are fun and uplifting, and where you're enjoying yourself, but you also have space to take in what is being sent to you.
Yeah. That's like so spot on. And it's like I feel the dreaming when I think about the dreams and Leo, I think about those stories. I think Isaac Newton was one of those who like you get those like the divine inspiration and the creative like guidance through your dreams. Like you could really
Yes.
like hone in on that and like feed
Yes.
that and encourage that through your mind. And
Absolutely.
that could really be of support to your creative endeavors, like your passion projects.
Yeah, and
And that gives more inspiration. Yeah.
when you wake up from the dream, it might be beneficial for you, instead of writing down your dreams, to create a piece of art that
Yeah.
represents that
Or
dream.
music, like
Yeah, create
whatever your
music,
art
write a
is.
story, you know whatever it might be that's more fun and exciting, and you can be a little bit more passionate about it than just writing the dream down specific to what you
Yeah,
experience.
that's a good point. That's a good idea. Yeah. Any of you listening, let us know if you have a Leo moon, how your dream space is. Because I'm really curious because I'm thinking about there's not a lot of people I know with Leo moons, but I'm like, oh, I don't really feel like I've had conversations with these people about their dreams. So I would be really curious to know how your dream space is in reference to like your Leo moon.
Absolutely.
And I'm trying to think, I'm looking at these challenging qualities and the possessive nature. I don't know why I want to like touch on that. Um,
It's important.
but yeah, I think it's like when I think about Leo and possessiveness, I think about more of like attention, like not necessarily like, oh, like Scorpio was like, this is my person, like this is my best friend, this
Yeah.
is
Or
my
even
lover.
Taurus, like
Yeah,
I'm possessive of my
my
material
things.
items,
Yeah,
my
yeah,
home, my
my
friends and
comfort.
family. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I feel with Leo, it's more of like the energy that they're receiving.
Yes.
And so, yeah, that's something I might have to come back to. But I'm just like, I'm curious for those of you listening, if like the possessive quality of Leo, if that speaks to you in any way, if you have a Leo moon, or maybe you know people with Leo moon, like how that could be expressed through the dream space. Like
Hmm.
maybe it's just because we're going on like an hour and a half. I'm like lost for words about it, but it's in my mind. I'm like, that there's something there. Um, but it's like maybe it's like like releasing that need for validation in the sense of like the outside source and like
Yes.
receiving
Look
that
within
valid.
yourself,
Yeah, look within
not the
yourself, and the
outside.
dream work
Yes.
will always provide that. Like if you want
Yes.
any validation, any affirmation, any boost to your ego, like you're gonna get it from your inner self. I mean, it'll come with like the dark stuff too,
Of
but
course.
like you'll get the good stuff and it's amazing. It's better than anything anyone else can say or do or whatever. So there we go. So we hit that. Okay, so the very last sign we have is Virgo.
Hmm.
And oh, I would say I didn't mention the emotional temperament. I was thinking low for Leo.
I feel
What
like
do you think? Or
they can
middle?
detach a little bit, kind of like air,
Hmm.
but then the emotions come really like
Like the
out of nowhere.
drama. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Like it's like it
And
could
a
be
lot of the
like,
times it can be around, like it's fueled by the people around
yeah. Okay. Okay. All
them.
right. So going to Virgo. So Virgo, I always look to, and this is an interesting like quality or just like role as for Virgo in consideration to dreams, but I always consider Virgos to be the healers of the zodiac, the
Yeah.
medicine makers, the medicine women, men and women.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so I always associate them with that. So the positive qualities I would say is their like keen insight, their attention to detail, similar
Hmm.
similar to Gemini, but more of like an internal focus.
And it's more grounded.
More grounded, yes, definitely grounded, and definitely with like I feel like it's more so like from a healing perspective and internal. They're
Yes.
hardworking, they're reliable.
Yeah. Yep.
And then on the
They
flip side, oh, go ahead.
no, no, no. I was just gonna say they just value like skill and technique, and they're very self-sufficient.
Hmm. And their challenging qualities would be overly critical,
Hmm.
worrisome, and that element of perfectionism or like the purity aspect, right?
Yeah.
I feel that they do have probably have a very high emotional temperament because of
Yeah.
that grounded nature and that ability to like, they want to like fix things. I feel, and
Yes.
that's where that healer comes through. So they have a strong like resilience when it comes to emotions and like really heavy energy.
Yeah, like where Cancer is nurturing in a very emotional way, I feel like Virgo's nurturing in a very like grounded way.
Yeah.
Um, and I would equate nurturing to Virgo as well. I was reading into Virgo, and it's a frustrating sign for me to read into because I feel like it can be a little lackluster in the way it's described.
It's like dry,
Um,
very dry.
it's very dry. Um, but like the people I know who are Virgos and who have Virgo moons or like Virgo influences, like there's a magic to them that's different than anything else.
They're like the caregivers. Like they're so like I knew a lot of Virgo, like not necessarily just moon, but like Virgos in general from back in my spiritual community in Colorado, and they're like body workers. They're like,
Yes, health and
they
wellness is very
they're
important.
herbalists. Like they're so there's just I don't know. It's like they're very like nurturing in a physical way, like you were saying.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I'm like, I feel that with dream work, they would be so good with dream work
Hmm.
in reference to like really extracting the medicine from it. Like this is the
Yes.
guidance. This is like, you
Divine
know,
messages
yeah.
too to
Hmm.
bring to the waking world for when I think about that, I think about oh who's the guy we just
Edgar Casey.
Edgar Casey,
Yeah.
and how the
Yeah.
herbal remedy for his whatever came to him within the dream space. He did it and it cured whatever he was experiencing. And that's what I think about with
Yeah.
Virgo moon, like what their power would be within that. I do think the fact that they are so like that need to be in control and for things to be perfect, they dislike chaos. So I feel like dream work, like being in the dream space, being a place of chaos, a lot
Yeah.
of the
That's
time
true.
can be very difficult for a Virgo
Yeah.
moon to navigate. So when it comes to like how that can affect your dream space, I think learning again to lucid dream
Hmm.
and really honing in on each and every step
Yeah.
of learning how to do the dream work and learning how to do the lucid dreaming, honing in on that and like taking it in as if like you're casting spells on yourself to get to that point. And then
Yeah.
when you're lucid within the dream, you're finally able to get to that point, you know, allowing yourself to organize the dream to understand the messages coming through to the best of your ability. Now you can't change everything, but you can do little things. You can change significant things to your dream. You just can't control the whole thing. So
Yeah.
finding like a balance in finding organization within the dream, but then allowing yourself to go with the flow with the rest that you can't quite grasp.
And that's definitely a very powerful medicine for Virgo in itself of like letting go of control.
Yes.
Yeah. Because in the dream, it's like interesting in the dream space, like you don't have control, but then you kind of do. And if you
Yeah.
learn to master, like if you learn and you're very aware of like your dream life and waking life and how they merge, like you're
Mm-hmm.
everything, like you're integrating everything, then you get the control and the surrender, like the whole balance experience. And
Yeah.
so that could be very powerful for Virgo energy.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think, yeah, I just feel like that, like I like that you brought up the chaos element. And like even like I feel there's a quality to Virgo, like, and this is where the purity aspect comes into play, or like the atonement, where it's like Virgo, it's like this experience of purification where Virgo archetype, just like the pure archetype, can hold this like vibration of like not being perfect, or like, the opposite sign of Virgo is Pisces, which I and a
Mm-hmm.
lot of other astrologies and people just in general is like, this is source, this is God, like in the chart, this is Jesus or whatever. This is where everything comes back to oneness. And it's like being the opposite sign of that, it's like the imperfection. Like Pisces could be the perfection, and Virgo's the imperfection. And you really get that on that axis of Virgo and Pisces. And so I feel if there's any themes of imperfection or like something needing an atonement in your waking life or just in your like perspective, the dream space is a really nice way to clear that, or to get even some sort of understanding and grasp of what the root of that is in your, just like in your own life experience. And yeah.
Absolutely. Even thinking about Pisces feels like a very chaotic, fluid
Oh yeah.
sign.
It's all over the place.
And with Virgo being so rigid and in line, it's almost like the two, you really need to find the balance between the two, whether you're a Pisces needing that grounding or a Virgo needing that fluidity to break you up, and kind of like you were talking about a little bit more or a little earlier with like needing to massage out the roots. Like it's almost like
Yeah.
needing to wash away the dirt so the roots can express, breathe, to just be out of the ground.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's important. Yeah, so I think I did mention emotional temperament of Virgo. I could see being high. Like they can hold a lot, they can take a lot.
Yes.
So I think that would be pretty beneficial for Virgo and the dream space, because it wouldn't like necessarily run. Like it's like, ooh,
Mm-hmm.
that was intense, I'm out. Like I think Virgo can handle that. And
Yeah.
so there's a lot of opportunity there for like exploration, for healing, for growth, just from that resilience of Virgo.
Yeah, like the ability to say, okay, that was intense, and then stop and take it in and kind of dissect and figure out all the inner workings and mechanics of what that specific, thing that was intense is or
Yeah.
was or is. I'm sorry. I'm it.
We made it.
I
We
didn't
did
get much
it.
sleep last night, and my brain is like, oh, like I'm in
We
that
did
like
it. We
kind
did
of delusional place
the
right now.
Lulu.
I'm a
Yes, we
little
did it
delulu.
though. We're here. I think we
We
did a
did
really
do it.
good treatment of all six of the first half of the zodiac, the first six signs.
Yeah, I
And that
loved
was
it.
really good. That was really good. So you guys have to let us know your thoughts, your opinions, like add your
Please.
insights and recommendations in the comments. And I see there's some comments here. I see Richard of Carver's mentioning that, just mentioning about like, I've always felt so in line with Gemini. That's why I've never looked much into my moon sign. And I know that Richard said their moon sign was, they found out it was Sagittarius, which I'll say that Gemini and Sagittarius, they're opposite signs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what I say about, signs that are opposite, right? They're on the same axis.
Yep.
They are like both two sides of the same coin, right?
Two
Yeah,
sides of the
how you
same
say it.
coin. Yep.
Yes. So there's very similar energy, and you'll hear when we share next week, or yeah, next
Yep.
week about Sagittarius, that it's like it's going to be very similar, especially the
Yep.
restlessness and like the curiosity. Yeah. So there are subtle differences between the two signs. Um,
Mm-hmm.
excuse me, but you all will like you'll see. I'm
Yes.
excited.
Come back next week and find out.
Yes. So, mm, just skimming through to see what other comments we have here. Just friends discussing their dream space and all of the things.
Oh, should we announce?
We will announce, yes. All right, so we feel complete with this.
Mm-hmm.
On to even more exciting insights and news and whatnot. So I'll let you share. I'll let you
Okay.
do it.
We are now going to be doing a dream circle every Tuesday. We'll be meeting up like here on Zoom, and we will be having a open and safe space to discuss dreams, dive deeper into, what might be, concerning you or intriguing you, and, just open space for us to share our dream space. Urania, you want to add more?
Yeah, so I'm gonna pop the link in the chat here. This is for our dream circle every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Yeah, so as Alexis said, we will be facilitating a dream circle. We'll be holding space every Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern time, where we'll just have these open conversations, organic. Like if you've had dreams, if you have questions about dreams, astral travel, mysticism, anything that we talk about,
Mm-hmm.
show up Tuesday nights and share with us. Well, and what I will say is that we're gonna cap the group at what 11 people. Yes, 11
11. Yep.
people. Because we want it to be intimate and we want everyone to have a chance to share.
Yep.
And so, as we said, it's only going to be 11 people. The way to access this group, like you have the link and we're accepting donations. You can literally
Mm-hmm.
get in with $1 donation. Our recommended donation
Yeah.
is $10, but $1 will work, $5, $20, whatever, it doesn't
We
matter.
want to make it as accessible for everyone as
Yeah.
possible. This is, we're putting our energy into, facilitating this for you guys. So it's nice to have a little bit of an somewhat of a donation,
Like an energy
but
exchange. Yeah.
yeah, an extent energy exchange, but we just want to make it available for as many people
Yeah.
to feel comfortable and have a safe space to share.
Yeah, so it'll be a place where, we have these conversations, but we'll all be in a space together where we can see each other and you can share like what's in your space, what's in your dream space, your questions, your thoughts, your perspectives, your studies, anything you want to share. It is, yeah, we'll have the space for that. And it'll be every Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern time, unless, something comes up.
Something
So
comes
I
up.
put the
Yeah.
link in the chat of this video. It's also in the description of the video. If you're listening to this on Spotify, it's going to be in the podcast notes. And yeah, we're going to be doing this every Tuesday for the foreseeable future. I'm really excited.
I'm so
The very
excited.
first circle is going to be February 11th.
Hmm.
So that is this coming Tuesday.
Oh,
So
I'm so
yes, we
excited.
hope
Go
to see
sign
you
up, guys, before
there.
it fills
Yes.
up. We only
Yes,
have 11
go
spaces.
register. Yes. So, yeah, that is what we have for you tonight. This has been a great chat, and thank you so much for being here, everyone.
We appreciate you all. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll be back next week with the rest of the zodiac in reference to dreams, and we would love to hear your thoughts in the meantime, and we'll see you then.
Yeah, stay tuned and have a great week of dreams.